Skill in the NBA is definitely an interesting subject. Hell, if it really had to be, just simply trying to define skill itself could be its own video. And while I'll definitely try my best to do that in this video as well, what I really want to talk about is how much does having skill matter? Because in terms of NBA debate every single day, there's bound to be a debate where yes, one player is greater than the other, but the other guy's more talented, he has more skill. And I'm not necessarily just here to mock the having skill argument, because I know I've probably used the terminology before, and will likely use it in the future. In fact, I know I will. But when that time comes, I want you guys to at least know what that term means to me, and more importantly, the weight of the term itself. And I'm trash at intro, so I'm not gonna drag it too long. Let's set the foundation right now. What does skill mean in terms of the NBA?
I think MJ is the greatest of all time, but I think Kobe is more skilled than any player that's ever played that I've seen. I think Kobe's more skilled than anybody.
That's not a bad. That ain't far off.
You rolling with that?
He's up there.
Kyrie he's a wizard, man. You know, he's must-see TV. I personally think that Kyrie's the most skilled player to ever play that position.
I definitely appreciate the praise and definitely agree.
He is the most skilled player to ever play the game.
Woo.
And it's no disrespect to Michael Jordan. It's no disrespect to the late, great Kobe Bryant. It's no disrespect to Elijah Warren and a lot of others. It's not what he do, it's how he do it. He has the complete offensive package.
I cannot have you come on here and say that Kobe Bean Bryant, I mean, I wouldn't even put LeBron ahead of Kyrie, but we'll backtrack and just keep it to Kobe for now. Kobe Bean Bryant.
I'm going to give you two guys who overall, skill-wise, I would put ahead of Kyrie. Isaiah Thomas. Ball handling, I give Kyrie a slight edge, but they're allowed to carry now. You didn't do that when Isaiah Thomas played. Everybody talks about Kyrie's finishing, and he's phenomenal. But Isaiah Thomas was shorter than Kyrie, carried a team, and had to finish back when there would be 6 to 8 other guys in the paint. The other guy is Steph, because Steph is clearly a better shooter.
Of course.
He's a better passer. He averages 6.5 assists. Ball handling, again, Kyrie has the edge, but Steph is arguably a top 5 ball handler in NBA history as well.
Even with whatever personality issues he had with his coach or whatever else, if Allen Iverson was 6'6", he'd have been the greatest player who ever lived.
KD, Kyrie, are they the most skilled pair of teammates that we've ever seen?
Without a doubt. I haven't seen a duo that skilled, Mike and Pip.
But Pip ain't have no offensive game like that.
That's the only thing I could go off of, though. I can't, there's no other dynamic duo that compares to KD and Kyrie. I mean, even if you look at what LeBron and D-Wade was, skill-wise, they're still not touching them two boys.
Right. Now I ask you guys to genuinely be honest, okay? Because I know I'm different, culture goes crazy. But if y'all can't admit right now that skill is essentially a shortened way for y'all to talk about ball handling and shooting, just clock out. And truthfully, it might be more so to dribbling than shooting, which is crazy. Look, bro, spoiler alert, that isn't all skill means to me. Not only do I think there's more skills in the NBA, but I think there's more meaningful skills. And trust me, dribbling is not at the top. But if we can't call out the truth and recognize that essentially we refer to skill as, hey, who's the best play sharp in the NBA right now? Then I'm talking to a bunch of people who are dishonest and just want to win an argument versus having a debate. And nothing proves that more than the fact that Kyrie Irving has this moniker of being the most skilled NBA player of all time. Now, before you guys start, no, this video isn't just a clever way of me slandering Kyrie Irving, slandering Kevin Durant, and any other player that's perceived to have a ton of skill. But what I'm trying to say is if we're about to try to define what skill is, we gotta be honest and accept the fact that the most popular definition, or at least the way skill is viewed as, is completely fucked up. Not gonna get too deep into it because I don't want this to dominate the comment section, but I've always had the argument that, okay, if dribbling and shooting is how we're gonna view skill, unless we're about to imply that dribbling is just as valuable of a skill as shooting, why wouldn't it be Steph Curry? Even without looking at the numbers, you could eye test it and just tell that Stephen Curry is a significantly better shooter. So even if you wanted to also eye test it and say that Kyrie Irving is that much of a better ball handler, to imply that either A, that gap is so huge ball handling would dominate the shooting gap, or B, that it's just as valuable as shooting, so it's 1-to-1 and it's a matter of who you pick, sounds pretty fucking flawed and stupid to me. And if it's more than those two attributes that qualify as skill, how the fuck is it Kyrie? So I think we're mature enough, and trust me, we're gonna get to maturity of the conversation in a minute, but even to the people that are more so on the immature side, I would even think they're mature enough to admit that, yeah, bruh, not gonna lie, this skill shit really has just been ball handling and shooting for the past couple years. What I hope for one day skill is defined as is truly everything. I believe there's off-ball skills. I believe there's rebounding skills. I believe there's leadership skills. I believe there's availability skills. Can some be worth more than others? That's fine. But I don't think the skill of shooting, let alone the skill of ball handling are so dominant to where it's clearly the top two, and only undersized players and guards dominate the position. And when a big man has those two skills, it's a great luxury to have, and it's very nice for those bigs to have those skills. But just because those skills are had by a 7-footer now doesn't put them in some tier above 99.9% of the league. Hell, let me name drop before y'all think I was talking about him just now. If Kevin Durant was just a 7-footer with a 3-baller handle, and those were the only skills he had, people are smoking his pack right now, but I promise you, he would have far less success if this were to be the case. But to somewhat move on from this conversation, let's say you really can't buy the idea of skill being more than just offense. That ball handling and shooting are the most valuable traits, but stuff like passing and finishing matters as well. And truth be told, Sage, is more than just the numbers. Shooting a 35-footer is not a regular 3-ball. Being able to throw full court passes is better than chest passes. And to be 100% honest, Sage, not only is offense the more dominant part of skill, but how your offense looks is really the major determinant in who has skill and who doesn't. The eye test, Sage, the eye test. Okay, fine, let's run with that. To all the real hoopers with this mindset, I then ask you, how much does having skill truly even matter? Because when I look around the NBA, the most skilled players don't always win the championship, and the most skilled players don't dominate. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of unskilled players do really amazing things. Patrick Beverley's been in the playoffs every single season of his career. JJ Redick, until the very latter half of his career, did the same thing. Up until this year and maybe last year, 99% of Celtics fans were telling you Marcus Smart's the most important Celtic. Hell, I was losing my shit over losing JaVale McGee. These are all players that are widely perceived as not being the most offensively skilled, but yet having insane value to the league. Now, I'm not a man of ignorance just to prove a point. It would take a ton, damn near a miracle of things to go right for a roster stacked from top to bottom of 15 Patrick Beverley type players to win an NBA championship. There is a level of skill necessary for a team to succeed. But then when you see things such as the most skilled duo ever, not even winning a game and getting swept in the first round, consistent NBA championship teams or players not being perceived as skilled, consistently, winning championships, hell, and let's really talk about it, a lot of these high tier skilled players are consistently questioned if they can even be a number one on a skilled team. And then of course you have the skilled players that are struggling to even get paid or struggling to get minutes over far less skilled role players. Again, while it would be completely ridiculous to argue that skill just doesn't matter at all, what's even worse is when players who don't produce are put on such a high pedestal for the fact that they're so skilled, when in reality it doesn't mean but so much, or at least in regards to the skills that are glorified. Let's take a look at a player like Steph Curry. A lot of you guys might be confused as to why I'm taking a look at Steph Curry, because he's insanely skilled. He even checks off the top two categories of shooting and ball handling, while simultaneously not being known as a really good defender. So he doesn't have the two-way player argument, he doesn't have the physical argument, he's only a 6'3" light-skinned in Under Armours, yet he's won the unanimous MVP and is a 3-time champion? Skill has to be the main reason, right? Well, even if you wanted to go that route, that's fine, but it would be foolish to imply that Curry's own skill is the sole reason for his success, or at least the popular skills, because the main thing about Curry is how dangerous he is without the ball in his hand. While I know for a fact that there's people that heard that sentence, raced to the comment section, and started typing, "But wait, Sage, Curry's own skill created his gravity, so what are you even talking about?" Sure, if the way Stephen Curry played basketball was for him to just stand at the half-court line and stand still, he would still draw a significant amount of defensive attention that a good 99.9% of players in the league would not draw. Thankfully, that's not how Curry plays at all. The reality is Curry is a menace to society off ball because he won't stop running around. His ability to dissect where the defense is going to go, what the defensive scheme already is, and his ability to get to his spots, along with the fact he's so skilled at the game of basketball, makes him a sensational offensive threat. However, there's a good amount of people that don't view this as a skill, because anybody could do it. Well, one raises the obvious question of why doesn't everyone else do it? Why doesn't Kyrie Irving, who's perceived more skilled than Steph Curry, do that so he can start winning championships? Is he just holding himself back on purpose? Or the way the Twitter trolls and hoopers, not basketball players, is it the way that those fans would describe it as, quote, not Kyrie's game? Or does it have something to do with the second question I have for you, which is just simply me questioning if it's really that easy to do to begin with anyway? Because that shit has to require a lot of stamina, tons of focus, can easily go wrong, and even higher levels of anticipation and IQ. It's almost like that shit is like, a skill, a very important skill, a skill that separates Curry from guys like Damian Lillard and Kyrie Irving, who are all exceptional ball handling, playmaking shooters, but haven't quite hit the level of unanimous MVP, 73 wins, 3-time champions. But wait, I'm tripping, because if Dame was on the Warriors, if Kyrie was on the Warriors, their skill alone would get that job done regardless. While I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like this is majority, there is definitely a subsection of ignorant fans that have these kind of standpoints and takes, and the sad part is based off of pure ignorance. Again, I don't want this part part of the video to dominate my comment section, so I'm not gonna drag it too much longer. But it's so coincidental that Dame and Kyrie were surrounded by more skilled players, accomplished way less than Curry did with less skilled players, sometimes directly losing to them, just for people to then say, well, skill is the reason they would replicate what Curry did. Like, that's just backwards. I don't even think you know what skill means at that point. The worst part is we saw what happens when Curry gets a really skilled player too. But speaking of Curry's success, let's talk about the one player that made sure that he didn't just dominate the NBA, because he's also overlooked in these skill conversations. Shockingly enough, let's talk about LeBron James, a player who just simply put isn't perceived as the most skilled because arguably shooting and his ball handling are the weakest parts of his offensive game. And this is why I ask, how much does it matter though? Because let's say both of these things are true. LeBron's a bad shooter and a bad ball handler. Why is he widely talked about in, you know, the GOAT conversation? And this is why I say this shit is so ignorant sometimes, dog. You're telling me one of the greatest, arguably the greatest player of all time isn't more skilled at basketball than Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant? Really? Like, really, my nigga, really? Because he's 6'9" and can barrel through people, yes, that's a major part of his game. But I promise you the Josh Smith build doesn't solo. A lot of the people that believe that play sharps equal skill will even admit that, yes, finishing and passing have something to do with it as well. Well, either that's some bullshit or clearly not enough. Because for a player to arguably be the best at both of those things, not even be a dog shit shooter or ball handler, just to be so clearly downplayed in these so-called skill conversations, speaks for itself. Like, now that I think about it, screw what I was gonna do. I was gonna talk about the fact that LeBron James is such an all-around player that when you combine all of these other things, that one, they are skills, but two, and more importantly, they matter a lot. But now that I'm thinking about it, screw all of that. If there is any kind of talent or skill list that does not favor a player like LeBron James, I'm telling you now, you're talking about something that doesn't mean much. Look, dog, there's a reason why free agency signings like PJ Tucker trend on the internet. There's a reason why every all-star level-ish talent that goes on the block, Miles Turner's name pops up. There's a reason all these playoff teams you're seeing right now, teams that are more skilled than some of the teams they're going against, or having more skilled players than the players they're going against, getting cooked despite the skill gap. Does the play sharp definition of skill matter? Even to such a stupid definition, I would say yes. Because sometimes, simply put, you need a level of talent or a level of skill that there's nothing you can do to game plan against, and shit's just gonna go down this way because a player is that great at basketball. But this play sharp definition of what skill is stupid. Not only is it stupid, but in all reality, it doesn't amount to so much anyway. When you look at the finals champions, hell, even the matchups for the past 20 years, you'll notice that playmaking and three-point shooting, let alone ball handling and shooting, aren't the dominant top two traits of any of these teams. And even if you tried to make the nastiest reach and point out the anomalies or argue that it was a consistent thing, all right, have fun, but you're gonna activate my trap card and at least demonstrate either A, you really don't know what you're talking about, or B, that you actually prefer production more than just raw eye test and skill. Example, you want to bring up Spurs ball and how they passed the ball all the time and had some of the best playmaking in basketball? Sure they did, but that was just a bunch of chest passes from non-S tier passers. That was good coaching. Anybody could have done that, right? They call Tim Mr. Fundamentals. They don't call him Timmy the Skilled. You want to bring up the Warriors? All right, fine. They did excel in playmaking and shooting, but that's a nasty way to downplay their defense, especially since the main success of those Warriors teams was its bench. I guess post ACL Sean Livingston and bad back Iggy were just so skilled. Crazy how that works. Oh, you want to talk about the bad defensive Cavs team that beat the Warriors? All right, but that's pretty dishonest. You're gonna ignore all the unskilled players that got suspended or hurt for Golden State and ignore the fact that it took a lot of the non-skills LeBron has just to barely beat Golden State? That's crazy, but hey, Kyrie Irving hit the skill shot. So that's all you need to say about that series. GG's. Look, I understand the importance of the eye test, of the skill test. Hell, there's a reason why I don't like comparing different eras. But if we're about to sit here and act like skill matters so much so that there needs to be separate all-time rankings for it, separate conversations in general, from greatness and production versus talent and skill, at the end of the day, that shit just lets me know you've taken this skill thing way too seriously. You're probably talking about some bullshit, and if your defense for that is, oh, I've played the game, I'm an athlete, or put down the numbers, use your eye test, for the most part, I did this whole video without numbers. Maybe you need to get your eyes tested. And I didn't gatekeep you from having your own opinion on this video. If you ain't ever hit 1,000 subs, don't talk to me. I ain't hit you with that. It's almost like I had a valid opinion with valid reasoning behind it. Not an opinion just because it's my opinion and didn't want you to talk about it or challenge it. That shit crazy, but hey, it might be a skill I just don't have. Yes, I'm a basketball YouTuber, not a hooper one, thank God. But that's gonna do it for today's video. It's been your boy TSO Sage. I was pretty sick during this recording, so if things were out of order, hey man, I'm doing my best, bro. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video regardless. Comment below if you disagree and you don't think skill should apply to damn near everything in basketball. But fair warning, TSO might be on your ass because an overwhelming majority does believe so. Crazy how that series done changed everything. Some of them motherfuckers probably lying though because we damn know what the answer used to be. Anyway, I'm Dragon. It's me, boy TSO Sage. I'ma holla at y'all later. Take care and stay blessed.